Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show today called NG 英文. My name is John Drummond, or Yang Haoen.
Hello, 大家好，欢迎回到我们西平方的节目 NG 英文，我是 Angela。
We have a great show for you today with our good friend Winnie, who is the creator of Bits of Psychology.
对啊，今天我们请到来宾是心理专家 Winnie。好，那他也就是这个去年同样也有来上过我们节目的奥运竞速滑冰选手 Darren 黄大元的太太。那待会呢，他会跟大家谈一些心理学的相关知识，以及他从小在各地长大学语言的心路历程。
All right. Thank you, Miss Angela Ma. My guest today is Taiwanese. However, she identifies as a third culture kid and has spent the majority of her life traveling and living in different countries around the world. She is a lover of helping people understand themselves better, creating, drawing, writing, and so much more. So everyone, please welcome my good friend, Winnie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Winnie.
What's up, Winnie? Thank you for joining us today on NG 英文. So, Winnie, we have a fun connection. Your husband...
Oh.
That's a fun thing to say. Your husband...
Still not used to it.
I know, that is so... I'm not. I was like, boyfriend, fiance? Nope, husband.
Mm-hmm.
Your husband is Darren Huang, who was on the show about a year ago, and we hadn't had the chance to meet at the time. And we just got to meet a few months ago. You are in the world of psychology and mental health, and I think these are such beautiful and important topics of our time. So, Winnie, can you share with our audience kind of what is your connection to mental health and psychology?
访谈一开始呢，Winnie提到说他高中的时候因为上心理课上的很有成就感，常常呢都是不用花太多时间精力就可以拿高分，所以后来考大学的时候也选择了台大心理，想说呢就可以继续朝心理学的世界发展。而之后的硕士学位也是继续考上美国一间很优秀的宾州大学心理咨商系。只是没想到念到一半就中途发现其实自己不想当咨商师，但还是希望可以帮助社会上有需要的人，让大家认识心理健康的重要性，所以呢就创立了 Bits of Psychology， 以画漫画涂鸦的方式让读者更了解心理学。那这边等一下 Winnie 提到的这个 EZA， 它是美国一种很口语的说法哦。那在这边的意思呢是形容 Winnie 高中的时候轻轻松松就可以在心理课上拿高分，拿到 A 的意思。那另外我们也认识两个今天跟这个主题息息相关的单字 psychology 跟 counseling。 psychology 是我们说的心理学，那 counseling 就是一般常听到的这个辅导咨商。如果你说咨商师或是辅导师的话，就会变成是 counselor。 那现在就赶快一起来听听 Winnie 的分享吧。
Sure thing. So I became interested in psychology when I was in high school, but that was more for the easy A. And then, but then somehow I got into it in undergrad, where I studied psychology at National Taiwan University. Then I really liked it, and I continued to study that for my master's program. So I did counseling and mental health services at the University of Pennsylvania. So halfway through, I realized I didn't really want to be a counselor, but I still wanted to educate the world on mental health, so I created my own blog and I draw comics to educate on psychology.
Yeah, I love that. And that is Bits of Psychology, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Bits of Psychology, and yeah, you draw your cartoons and just very relatable kind of character interaction around the world of psychology. So your Bits of Psychology blog, that all kind of came to be because you were telling me off air you didn't like the kind of traditional textbook method for learning. Is that correct?
前面我们讲到 Winnie 她成立了 Bits of Psychology， 让有需要的人可以在网站上用看涂鸦漫画的方式认识心理学，照顾自己内心的健康。那等一下呢，她会分享到说在念书的时候发现其实心理学根本是一种很简单明了的这个科学研究，而且和我们的生活有密不可分的关系。不管何时何地你在跟别人互动，甚至是在跟自己互动的时候， 都会用到，所以让从小就不喜欢读课本的 Winnie 觉得说，这其实根本就不需要用课本就可以懂的啊。然后加上以前他就很喜欢看漫画，有练得一手画画技巧，最后就决定用画图的方式帮助大家了解心理学。那待会这个跟人家互动的英文说法我们也来认识一下。 Interact with 跟谁谁谁互动，跟别人互动我们可以说 interact with other people， 那跟我们自己互动的话是 interact with ourselves。 那另外一个是 straightforward， 大家可以把它想成是一条线就直直的通下去就可以了，不用去想说还要拐来拐去，它就是用来形容很容易懂很容易了解的意思。赶快来听 Winnie 的说明吧。
Yeah, I would say I'm not a fan. I just never really liked reading textbooks growing up. And as I learned more about psychology, I realized it was a very straightforward science and it's really relatable to our daily lives. We use it all the time when we interact with other people, when we interact with ourselves. And I just felt like we don't need a textbook to understand why people are weird. So I wanted to try to communicate my point. I'm not the best writer. I'm not a great artist, but I could do a little bit of both. And I really enjoyed reading comic books growing up, like a lot of other Taiwanese friends. So I wanted to draw these little comics to educate on psychology.
I love that, and I love that humble expression of you weren't a great writer, you weren't a great artist, but you're good at both, and look at what you're creating now. So has there been maybe one or two of your favorite cartoon strips that you've drawn now over the years with bits of psychology?
接下来Winnie要跟大家稍微介绍一下平常我们对 O.C.D 强迫症的迷思。好，大家一般可能都觉得说，包括我自己在内了哈，就是说如果一个人他超级无敌爱干净，家里什么摆放都是整整齐齐，然后书架上的书也都是按照顺序摆这样子，这一定是有强迫症。但其实不是Winnie 说强迫症其实是因为患者他脑中会一直有这种侵入性，一直反复出现，不断呢要他去做某件特定事情的想法，而且自己呢一般都不太有办法去抵抗。如果真的要舒缓减轻这种想法带来的焦虑的话呢，他们可能就会要藉由一些特定的习惯动作来排解这样子的状况，像是一直徘徊啦，一直走来走去，好，或是要求自己要数到30之类的。但其实这些行为对一般人来说都不太容易去理解，因为我们通常只要不去想就没事了嘛。但是对于有强迫症的人来说却不是那么简单。好，强迫症的患者呢，他们生活其实是非常非常的辛苦，非常的消耗精力的。这边几个字我们先熟悉一下，强迫症它的缩写是 O.C.D， 也就是 Obsessive Compulsive Disorder。好，那另外他等一下会提到的这个 Intrusive Thoughts 就是所谓的侵入性思维，就是会一直不断反复出现在你脑海里的那些挥之不去，严重干扰生活的想法。
Well, there is this one that I think I'm a little bit more proud of, which is the just illustrating the misconception of what people think O.C.D is. So the full name of it is Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. And on the left of the picture, I have a character who just finished doing the dishes and aligning his bookshelf from, letter A to letter Z. Everything looks clean and neat. And people often think that's what O.C.D is, like being a clean freak or love organizing, can't stand anything dirty or out of order. But actually, O.C.D is defined by having a lot of intrusive thoughts and they just won't stop. So maybe like right now I'm sitting here, a possible intrusive thought would be hit John right now with this chair. And that thought just keeps coming and I can't stop it. Or maybe I didn't turn off the gas at home and that just keeps coming and there's nothing I could do about it. And then following that, there would be certain behaviors to try and ease that anxiety level. So maybe that could be like, pacing back and forth, having to count to 30 every time that thought comes out, basically having these little rituals or behaviors to try and ease the anxiety of the intrusive thoughts. And that can be really, really debilitating for someone's life. And people find it hard to empathize with because normally if we don't want to have a certain thought or a thought just passes, but for people with O.C.D, it just isn't like that. So I think that comic, just having these two panels side by side, one person who's super clean and the other person who's sitting on the ground crying because there are a million thoughts going on in that person's head and they just won't stop and they're so dark. I think that really showed what O.C.D really is, and that got quite positive, feedback.
Yeah, that's a beautiful illustration. I would love to actually see that now too. But
Thank you.
You did a nice job painting the picture verbally for us. As my traditional understanding was, because I am a very clean, neat person, I thought I did have O.C.D. But yeah, like you say, that's not necessarily what O.C.D is. It's these intrusive thoughts, and these thoughts can be very negative. They can be very invading, and it's nonstop, right? Yeah, so going over these rituals is something very important. So if you can, I know psychology can be so academic, but what does mental health really mean to you?
前面3段内容都比较长，多谢大家听我稿维齁。但是请放心啦，这段内容呢很短，各位马上就可以听到 Winnie 美丽的声音了。他提到我们心理、我们心灵的健康，就跟身体的健康一样重要。你的身体如果哪里不好，哪里受伤了，可能呢也比较难去好好的过生活，好好享受人生。那心理的健康也是这样子啊，如果我们不好好照顾心灵状况，出问题的话，也同样比较不容易去真正享受生活中的大小事，或者甚至可能连事情都做不好。所以啊，照顾好身心灵真的很重要，有需要呢就寻求协助。我们新年新希望，大家都要把自己内在外在的状况都打理好哦。
So I think mental health doesn't have to be complicated. You can think of it like physical health. I mean, if you don't have good physical health, you will have a hard time enjoying anything in life or getting things done. And same goes for mental health. If you don't take care of your soul, then you won't be able to enjoy many things in life and you won't be able to get things done either.
Yeah, that's a beautiful connection there, kind of to physical health. If we go to the gym or we're active, we feel better. And it's same with us taking care of our souls. I love that. Yeah, so Winnie, you kind of mentioned, you're doing bits of psychology and, you're really helping just bring more awareness to the space of mental health. So can you share with our audience a little bit maybe of your story of how you got involved with mental health and psychology?
那接下来 Winnie 会分享到一段是比较他个人的故事也是感谢他跟我们谈这一段。他说以前在宾州大学念书的时候，其实心里是最不健康、最低落的一段日子，怎么样都觉得内心空荡荡，都不开心、不满足结果呢，也因为他这样子不知足而对自己生气，让病情每况愈下，想法越来越负面，越来越没有自信。温妮说当时的这个状况其实说来也是蛮讽刺的，蛮这个 ironic， 因为身为一个念心理咨商的人，竟然连自己得了忧郁症都没有发觉，就连后来知道了，也因为觉得很丢脸，拖了好一段时间才打开心门接受咨商。所以也就是因为有这样的一段过去，让 Winnie 觉得说，就连我一个学心理的人都不知道怎么样处理忧郁症了，或者说就算是当时知道了也不敢面对，那其他那些对这一切完全不认识的人呢，他们怎么办？所以最后才决定要运用自己所学来教育大众，同时也帮助有需要的人走过低潮。
Sure, I would love to. So I do feel like educating the world on mental health is my life mission, and that's because of everything I've been through and also because of my own educational background. I feel like I have the tools and it's my responsibility to share that with people who don't. So my own journey, it's very ironic because I was studying psychology at a great university, and that was when my mental health was actually at its lowest point. When I was spending time with friends, spending time with family, participating in a lot of events, going to school, I just felt really empty on the inside, and I couldn't get myself to be happy or satisfied, and because of that, I really, really blamed myself. I was telling myself, oh my gosh, Winnie, you have all these good things in life, but you're still not happy? What's wrong with you? And with those thoughts, my mental health actually became worse. I thought less and less of myself. I had darker and darker thoughts. And that just kind of spiraled out of control, and I was in a very dark place. And yeah, I was mentioning it was ironic because I was studying psychology, but I didn't recognize that depression was happening to me. So that was my when I did realize it, I still felt very, very ashamed. I knew that like having a cold or, bronchitis or, some other disease, having an illness like depression isn't something to be ashamed of. But I think because I felt a certain way and there was nothing I could do about it, that made me feel like I was a very weak person. So it took me a long time before I went and sought help. And I think that because of that, that delay, it took me a longer time to heal. Like having a wound, let's say today you got hit by a car. I hope that doesn't happen to you. But yeah, and you don't go to the hospital and let that wound just drag on for weeks and months and it's all infected and nasty. And then you finally go to a doctor. It would have been a lot easier if you just went in the first place. So that was kind of what it was like with my depression. But I was able to go see a psychiatrist and a counselor. I was very fortunate to have these resources. And now I'm in a much better place. I'm still on medication. I've been taking medicine for the past 4 years. But overall, I'm very stable and happy with my life. And just having gone through that journey, despite being a psychology student, despite knowing all these academic terms and knowing what's supposed to happen, I was still really resistant to getting help for myself. I still didn't recognize it when it happened to myself. And I just felt like, oh my gosh, if even I can't realize that, or even I didn't want to seek help when I was hurt in that way, what about the other people who never had this education? So this is why I want to be able to share psychology education with the world with a specific focus on mental health, taking care of yourself and taking care of other people, because I think this is so relevant to the well-being of our daily lives. That's about it. That's my story.
Thank you for sharing, as I know that is a very personal thing to you, but I feel it's very beautiful that you kind of have that self-awareness in yourself, and you now feel it's your mission to inspire others who maybe are dealing with the same thing. So thank you for your journey. A question I like to ask here on NG Ingwen is kind of within thinking about mental health, have you thought about the future with kind of your mission is to educate more people about mental health? What can you do to spread more awareness?
在这段访谈中呢，维尼提到他未来除了会继续画漫画以外，可能也会成立一个 YouTube 频道做相关影片。好，因为大家好像都还蛮喜欢上网看影片的，所以说不定也是一个可以让更多人认识心理学的好方法。或者呢，因为他也是一个喜欢交朋友的人，所以或许会尝试去建立新的人脉，跟更多在心理学领域的专业人士做交流。好，甚至是像我们这样子做一个节目，分享他们的内心故事也不一定。那这段有一个很实用的片语，大家赶快学起来。Get the word out， 就是把消息传出去，让大家都知道的意思。
Other than continuing to draw my comics, I really don't know. Well, yeah, in this regard, I have some ideas, like possibly creating a YouTube channel. I don't really know how to make videos, but it seems like a lot of people enjoy watching videos. So maybe this is a good way to get the word out. I also really like making new friends. So maybe connecting to other professionals and letting them tell their story or share some tips. The way you do with NG Ingwen, having people to come on the show and share their stories and their tips on English. I would like to do something similar with psychology.
Awesome. Yeah. And I wish you nothing but success with that.
Thank you.
As, this is such an important topic to both of us. And I hope, you can keep breaking down those walls of thought. As in, I've noticed a lot of people in Asia, especially my Taiwanese friends, there's still that, mental health, that's weakness. Let's not talk about that too much. So I think it's important to, keep building up that positive reinforcement for, hey, taking care of your mental health is a beautiful pillar of life. So do you mind if we transition a little bit into kind of more of the story of Winnie in the sense of your language development?
Sure.
So
Happy to share.
Yeah. So you are what you like to say as a third culture kid, and you grew up kind of all over the world. Is that correct?
再来 Winnie 会分享到他算是一个第三文化的孩子，一开始呢在台湾出生，所以中文算是母语，但后来到美国住了2年，也就是大概在幼稚园小一的时候开始接触英文。那后来呢又到香港住了4年，然后又回到台湾住了3年，接着呢又搬去印尼住3年。整个成长时期，这个语言能力的养成变成是不断的要在中文英文之间做转换。好，那这个第三文化的孩子，他的英文说法是 third culture kid， 就是像 Winnie 这样子，一来吸收父母的原生文化，二来吸收这个海外生活的当地文化，最后还有再加上他自己融合这些外在文化而形成的一个第三文化。好 ，third culture kid.
So I was born in Taiwan, but then I lived in the States for 2 years, Hong Kong for 4 years, Taiwan again for 3 years, and Indonesia for 3 years.
Wow. Yes. So that makes you 12, according to my math. Just kidding.
Skip the chunk.
Yeah. That is all over the place, like you said. So within that, you were transitioning between Mandarin and English the whole time. So your first language is Mandarin. So when would you say your English learning really began?
I would say it started in kindergarten. That was the year when I had to move to the States. So kindergarten and first grade in the U.S., that's when I started learning English, my ABCs.
Yeah, your ABCs. So in terms of maybe daily life and conversational English, what can you share maybe with our audience with some tips and advice that helped you along the way?
接下来又是小 Pebble 的分享时间啦。Winnie 真心建议大家，越能结合日常生活，常常运用练习就越好。而且如果从兴趣爱好切入更好，像例如他喜欢打电动，跟我一样喜欢打电动。那以前学英文的时候呢，就会把游戏界面设成英文。那如果是哪天想磨练一下中文的话呢，就是再把界面切换成中文，以这样子的方式去激发他自己想要学习的动力。因为是自己喜欢的嘛，就会比较呢愿意去了解。比起学一些自己没兴趣的主题，这样子的学习内容呢，反而更容易让我们想要参与，想要花时间去学。那这边有个用法，大家来练习一下 ，immerse yourself in 什么什么什么。像待会Winnie说 ，immerse yourself in the language， 让自己沉浸在学的那个语言里面。其实也就是我们常讲的沉浸式学习法。马上来听这段内容。
Oh, absolutely. So when it comes to learning English or learning any language for that matter, you would want to use it as much as possible in your daily life, and I would highly recommend starting with your hobbies. So for example, I really like to play video games. So by changing the language settings of all my video games to English, that helped me practice, and I'd flip it back into Chinese if I wanted to practice Chinese. Maybe you can change the language of your phone to English. Just really immerse yourself in the language. Try to use it as much as possible. And if it's something that interests you, then it's easier to engage than something that doesn't interest you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Great advice. I could really feel you're getting fired up right there. Yeah, I love it. So another question I'd love to ask here is do you remember any times you struggled though with your English or your Mandarin over the years?
紧接着Winnie说啊，之前有一次在医院，本来好心想要帮一个腿受伤但已经做完手术的爷爷加油打气，想跟他表示说，现在做完手术一切就会比较轻松了，就用英文讲说 It's all downhill from here。 没想到老爷爷听了完全傻眼呢，觉得 Winnie 怎么这么失礼嘞？是在搞我纠缠是不是？在给我诅咒吗？原来啊 downhill 它虽然一般来说都会用来表示事情变得轻松容易，但有时候呢可能因为情境的不同， It's all downhill from here， 或是你说这句 something is going downhill， 那表达出来的意思就会是状况越来越糟，每况愈下，所以老爷爷听了才会傻眼，但其实他是误会了啦。
I struggle all the time. I struggle every day.
Me too. Story of our lives.
So I could share a funny story here. This was in the U.S. I was already doing my master's. I'm like 20-something. So not a little kid anymore. And there was this time I hurt my knee. And there was an old person in his 70s, I would say. And he also hurt both of his legs. And he already had surgery. And we were both going in the hospital for some final checkups, some scans. And we were encouraging each other. I wanted to tell him that it gets easier from here. And in Chinese, when you say 从现在开始都是下坡路, like from here on, it's a downhill walk or it's like a downhill path. That means it gets easier from here. But when I said to him, like, it's all downhill from here, that means something really negative in English. And that was when I realized when you say it's all uphill from here or when you say it's all downhill from here, they both mean negative things in English.
Yeah.
So he just looked at me absolutely stunned, like I was cursing him. And I didn't understand until I shared that with an American friend. And then he was howling with laughter.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that is such a good story. Yeah, it's all uphill or it's all downhill in English. Both are negative terms. So yeah, very, very interesting right there. Nice story. Well, that is unfortunately leading us to our last question here on NG Ingwen. And that is, if you could go back and talk to a younger Winnie about mental health, about life, about language, would there be any advice you give yourself?
最后 Winnie 想要告诉小 Winnie， 心理生病了就跟身体生病了一样，要懂得求助，要看医生。那在语言学习方面呢，他希望小维尼放宽心。虽然小时候因为在各个国家搬来搬去，常常都会觉得自己的英文比不上国际学校的学生，那中文呢又没有当地人来得好，就会觉得自己不够好这样子。但学语言不是在比赛啊，不用去跟人家比较，而且其实自己根本就是在同时间学2个语言啊，人家还在玩的时候，你已经在磨练自己的技能了，所以真的不用去担心太多。那我们现在就马上来听访谈最后这段内容吧。
Oh, absolutely. So 2 pointers. First one, regarding mental health, definitely when you're not feeling well, go to the doctor, just like your physical health. Treat it that way. And regarding language, it's not a competition. And that's something I would tell myself because I had to move between countries a lot. My English was never as good as students in international schools, or my Chinese was never as good as students in local schools. So I always felt like I wasn't good enough. But in fact, I was working on both of these languages at the same time, and that was a feat in itself. So I would tell myself it's not a competition. It's really just building on your own skills.
That is beautiful. Well said. Yeah. And now you are fluent in both and so articulate in both.
I hope.
Awesome.
I hope
so where can people maybe follow along with your blog posts for Bits of Psychology or maybe your life online?
Well, you can look up Bits of Psychology on Facebook or Instagram, or in Chinese, you can look up 点点心理学, and then you will see my pages. I run it in both English and Chinese, so you can find me there.
Awesome. In English and Chinese. So wonderful. I'm so happy this is your life mission, and I wish you nothing but success. And thank you for being such a pioneer in the world of psychology and mental health.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, Winnie.
Bye.
Peace. All right. Well, that is our NG Ingwen show for today. We hope everyone enjoyed listening to that. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now Spotify. You can search NG Ingwen, or you can search on IG NG English ICRT. And don't forget to tune in every Wednesday morning from 6:30 to 7 and Wednesday night from 9 to 9:30. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
好，那我们今天西平方的节目 NG 英文就到这边告一段落啦，感谢大家的收听，别忘了到 IG 搜寻我们的粉丝专页 NG 底线 English 再底线 ICRT， 大家也要记得每周三早上6点半到7点，或是晚上9点到9点半，把广播调到 ICRT FM 100，准时收听我们节目哦。那也欢迎各位上网搜寻西平方的攻其不备课程，或者呢是到我们西平方的官网多读读一些有关 NG 英文的文章， 看看有哪些是可以吸收学起来的小撇步哦。我们下周见了，拜拜。